Okay, everybody, here are the designs for the Dragon Crew's villainous rivals. You already got the design for Shadow Mason, Rex's rival, and evil older brother. So here's everybody else. Here is Nightmare. Nightmare is actually a public domain superhero who I reimagined as a villainous character for my universe. In terms of overall personality, he's heavily inspired by Brian Fury from Tekken. He's kind of, in my interpretation, he's somewhat crazy. Obviously, he's more of a villain and is Rogue's rival. He also has an arsenal of guns. He has white hair. It's somewhat spiky, although it's kind of hard to see, as he wears a helmeted skull mask. It still has something exposed for his hair to pop up, but he has an armored skull mask, as well as a skull-themed bandana that completes the whole skull face look on his whole face. Anyways, that is Nightmare. Similarly, we have Miss Fury, who is also a public domain superhero I reimagined as a villain here. And of course, between appearances, she's now been enhanced with liquid metal enhancements, giving her blade looks, giving her overall more crazy bladed look. Although my idea is that for her first appearance in episode 2, she's pretty much just her actual design from her old comics. But of course, now in this episode and onward, she's now been modified, giving blades, and pretty much has been driven even more crazy. And like Nightmare, it's a public domain superhero I reimagined as a villain here because I feel like it could kind of work. Next we have Orochimaru, who, unlike Orochimaru from Naruto, the Orochimaru of mythology, Japanese mythology, is a lot darker. He's more of a deity, a demon of sorts, so I gave him that sort of skull look. I made his skull kind of look like it has fangs to represent snakeness, and gave him sorts of creepy armor. I was trying to go for a look similar to Yoshimitsu's design from Tekken 4, although I don't know how well I succeeded in that look, and I probably will change up the colors in this design eventually, probably, maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, there is Orochimaru. Next up is Overlord, who is the first of her designs not driven from a public domain source. His basic story is he's a guy who bodybuilds and pretty much had screwed in metal and other bits to his body, giving him this bulky frame and look. He'll probably probably changing up his colors probably in the future to add a bit more darker red around his wrists, but overall, I felt like he did a good design here, and yeah, there is Overlord. Also forgot to mention this, but obviously Miss Fury is Tanya's rival. Orochimaru is Jake's rival, and of course Overlord is Twerk's rival. We have Rogue, Ranger, and Gear. Now Gear's design pretty much didn't change at all from Demon Hunter. He's just now a villain. He kind of went crazy between when you last saw him. And Rogue Ranger, sort of a cowboy look. And Rogue Ranger is Howler's rival, and Gear is Baz's rival. It perfectly works because they're around the same size, and the two constantly bickered in Demon Hunter back when Gear was a good guy. So, yeah, there is Rogue Ranger and Gear the Gremlin. And here's Koki the Bear, the rival for Servo Breaker, who is a member of Clan of Bears who uses special powder to gain incredible abilities. I think you get the joke here and the reference. Enough said. What's this? A public domain villain from an old 1940s cartoon that went to the public domain because Warner Bros. Does not care about their animation back in the day and debatably doesn't nowadays? I'll steal him! No one will ever know! And yeah, here's Dan Backslide. My interpretation of the public domain villain, Dan Backslide. He is Raptor's rival, and yeah, I kind of tried to give him a more angular look to match up with the more cooler and more anime-esque designs of the other characters, but it really wasn't much I could do before it just looked like Kazuya from Tekken, but with a different color scheme and a mustache. But overall, here's Dan Backslide. It's just Dan Backslide. There's not much I can really do here. It's Dan Backslide. Why try to change too much of perfection? And finally, Brock Boxer. Really, all I did was give him shorts. That's about it. It wasn't really much. He's a giant living broccoli. What much can I do here? Anyways, he's Tidal Wave's rival. But anyways, that's all the designs for the villainous characters. Can't wait to see you all in the next episode of Dragon Wars, where we now have the return of the Battle Blades from my series Battle Blades. Yeah, I'm bringing those characters back do some interdimensional stuff, and you'll see what I'm gonna do here. You're gonna have to wait for episode 5 to see what I'm doing here. Trust me, you're gonna love what I'm doing here. I figured I'd bring some of the BattleBlade characters back and take their narratives in some interesting directions. And this will essentially be a way for me to bring them into the Neoverse. That's without majorly impacting the ending of BattleBlade's story, while still moving forward the character narratives of the characters without clashing with any of the stuff I'm doing in Dragon Wars and the other parts of the Neoverse. But, yeah, there you go.